So what is the schedule for today? So first we're going to talk about metabolism. We're going to kind of get some of the basics under our belt, and then kind of move quickly beyond kind of the biochemical processes and into kind of the role of stress and stress eating, something that people are really interested in, and then kind of what's going on with our brain in the context of that and kind of forming habits and what might we be able to do about it. Then we'll have a break. Some of this is kind of will fluctuate depending on kind of where we go in this presentation. We'll definitely end on time, and we usually end a little bit before. And then we'll talk about the role of inflammation and how that's related to mood, how that's related to stress, how that's related to disease processes. We'll have lunch, and then we'll talk about aging. And not just aging of the brain, but also of the body, and kind of talking about some key cutting-edge biomarkers that might be better predictors of age-related illness than just chronological age. So, as we know, chronological age is really kind of the best predictor of disease risk, right? The older you get, the more likely you are. But there are kind of things that might be even better predictors of that, because it's certainly the case that not everybody gets disease at the same age. There's variability in that. We're trying to understand why. And then we'll talk about cognitive aging, and then we'll talk about sleep. So I actually do a lot of sleep research, so you'll see that I'll get really excited by that part. And I'll try to get you excited. Maybe not, but we'll work on it. And then we'll take a break, and then we'll talk about nutrition and how it's related to metabolism, what we can do, and then I'll answer some burning questions. And then there's a Scantron form that you have to complete. I will say that the evaluations at the end are really critical for shaping future ones. And so because this is such a diverse crowd, and there's so many topics that we're going to be talking about, there's probably some things that you wanted to know that won't be in this lecture, right? Because we can only put so much in there. And so if there are specific things that weren't touched upon, you can come up and ask during the break. I also make myself available by email, and if there's a question that I didn't answer, I will email it to you. There's a month period that I'll do that, but also, we can maybe you'll be part of the role of developing a new lecture on a topic that you think is particularly important. So those evaluations are critical. Who likes sleep? I know. So good. I know. Who gets enough of it? I don't believe half of you. Let's say you do. I bet you don't. People don't. Sleep is great for you, and I'm going to tell you why. But first, so it's a third of our life, right? And sleep is not just some kind of thing that we do. It's a very dynamic process. It's something that our brain is actually active. We used to think, when we go to sleep, it's like this is the time for your kind of brain to turn off. And it turns out that it's on very much, and it's actually going through different phases. This is an old slide that there is no stage 3 and 4 anymore. It's just stage 3. But, basically the point is that, when you go to sleep, you go into different depths of sleep. You start in lighter sleep, and it moves into deep sleep. A deep sleep is called slow wave sleep, and it's thought to be kind of the most restorative aspect of sleep. But what happens is you fluctuate across the night, about every 90 minutes. And so you go into deep sleep, and then you go into what's called rapid eye movement sleep, and that's the dreaming sleep. If you see someone who's sleeping and their eyes are moving back and forth, or your pet or something, they're dreaming. And so what's notable here is that you can see that our deep sleep that we get, this restorative sleep, is in the first part of the night. The majority of it is in the first part of the night, right? And then as we go throughout the night, our sleep gets lighter. Now this is why people are more likely to kind of be able to get woken up earlier in the morning. They're kind of lighter sleepers in the morning because we're already kind of out of a stage that's not as deep. But also you can see that we dream more during this period, and this is why kind of if you were to wake someone up in the early morning, there's more likelihood that they'd remember their dream than if you did it earlier in the night, because there's just bigger probability that you're going to be dreaming. And so the way that we measure this is through EEG. We kind of put electrodes on people's heads. Certainly this does not look comfortable, but people. This is how we get kind of signatures of what's happening during people's sleep. And they all show different signatures to understand what stage individuals are while they're sleeping. Sleep is not static throughout the night, as I mentioned, but it's also not static over time. our sleep changes as we age. And so this is a really classic slide, but it's, what it shows is, so this is the different stages of sleep. So we have 1 and 2 and slow wave sleep, which is that deeper sleep. This is our rapid eye movement sleep, our dreaming sleep. And then everything above this line is like how much you're awake. So really just focus on this line down, from REM down. And you can see that as we age, this is the amount of sleep. The amount of sleep that we get as we age gets less, right? And one of the things that drives it getting less is we actually are getting less slow wave sleep as we age. And what that's being made up by is actually what's called WASO. It's the wake after sleep onset. So this is the number of minutes that you're awake once you go to sleep. So it seems as you get older, as we get older, because we're all getting older, we have more awakenings during the night, and we are getting less of this restorative sleep during the night. Everything else is kind of similar.